Not my fault if you're not paying attention.
Don't be a show dog.
Hold on. Wait for Patreon to catch up. Oh, man, Patreon. Just take your sweet time to get streaming today. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. How's it going? Amos is here.
I am.
Hammond is here.
Hello.
Roger is here.
Roger's here. Roger needs a haircut.
Roger is referring to himself Ricky Henderson style in the third person.
I mean, is there any other way? I'm sure you can. I could do it like
Yes,
MC.
you could do the first person.
No. Is there any other way to do a third person besides Ricky Henderson?
Yeah, I don't know. Gang's all here. That's the point. I would like to go to a single briefly because lately when I've been talking, there's been stutter. And I am on my new M5 MacBook Pro, and I don't see... I see a little bit. But not like it was. Do you guys agree?
Let me write a headline blurb. M5 stutters video.
You all know what I'm talking about.
No, Amos and I know desperately what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And so you don't see it right now, right?
No.
I mean, it on my end, very, very low amounts.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little frame drop here and there.
But it's like 10% what it has been.
Much less.
Yeah, no. This is usable. The other stuff, no.
Yeah, it was like max headroomy.
It actually looked like I was flipping a film strip.
I've been thinking it might be because I was running the camera through the anchor dock. But I wanted to see with the new M5 Pro if running it through the anchor dock made a difference, and it does.
What camera?
But I still think it might be the dock that's dropping the frames.
Yeah, what camera are you using though?
I'm using the Panasonic GH3 through the Elgato Camlink 4K.
Okay. So
you've got the DSLR sending lots of data to a Camlink 4K, which would like to output in USB-A, but I'm using the included Elgato USB to USB-C connector into the anchor dock, which then goes through a Thunderbolt cable into the MacBook Pro. I should check that Thunderbolt cable that goes into the MacBook Pro. Maybe that could be a factor in this too.
The Thunderbolt cable going from the anchor dock to the MacBook Pro?
Yeah.
You're not using the OEM one that came with the anchor dock?
Well, that's what I think. I just realized. I'm like, well, I'm using the OEM.
OEM?
Yeah. So I need to check that and make sure. Well, because I just used a Thunderbolt 4 cable yesterday to do the migration. I did the migration assistant, and it was fast. I mean, I was putting a couple of terabytes of data across, and it took 2 hours.
Yeah.
So and it was regularly at 500 megabits per second or more as it's transferring. I originally, like a naive young summer child, said it. I was like, yeah, just do it over Wi-Fi. I'll just leave it overnight. It was like, this will be 40 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, forget that.
Yeah, no, Tom, bad Tom.
I won't be doing
Wi-Fi.
So I went and got the Thunderbolt cable, and then it was
Bluetooth in there while you're at it.
Acceptable. That was acceptable. The weird thing though is the migration assistant told me it would be 2 hours. I'm like, okay, that's great. And it went down to an hour and a half, totally on pace. And then it went back up to an hour 40, and then to an hour 50 for like a half hour. I'm like, oh, this might take 3 hours or more. And then right when it got 10 minutes away from being 2 hours, it went down to a half hour. And then at the 2 hour mark, it just was like, okay, we're done.
Awesome.
It won't be 20 more minutes. I'm done now. So never trust that.
Okay, so that's the thing about those progress bars. I've never trusted them.
Why?
Because they're rough estimates.
Yeah,
they are not.
No one
They're
knows.
estimating on the file they're transferring now. So if you're transferring
Yes.
millions of small files, it's assuming the rest of your terabytes are the same thing. And but once it gets into the big meaty chunks, that's like, your
Then it goes, whoa, these are going to take a long time. And there's a bunch of error checking that has to happen on certain files.
It goes faster if you have one large fat file versus a bunch of really like
I just assume all those timers are like the timer on my washing machine. That last minute could take a minute. It could take an hour. There's no telling how long that lasts.
It's called like the last 2 minutes. It's called the football minute.
I was gonna say it's the last 2 minutes in any football game that lasts another hour.
I got 2 more minutes. We'll be out of the door.
Last 2 minutes
honey.
in any sport these days. Everybody fouls in basketball.
Well, and that's the kind of contradictory aspect of those last final minutes, right? Because time is so short, everyone wants to be like, hold on, before the refs come out and judge this, let's make sure like everything is where it needs to be. So we maximize the amount of time that we have.
So the refs in your MacBook were not in
on
place.
The take.
Yeah. Tom, that's what
It's Kalshi. I blame Kalshi.
It was referring to the
these prediction markets, man. They're ruining everything. So yes, I have. I keep saying I have an M5 Pro. I have an M5 Max. I don't know why I have a block on that. It makes a difference. 128 gigabytes of memory, and I think it's an 8 terabyte. Yeah, 8 terabyte hard drive.
Wow, you went all in.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't go all in. I didn't max out something. I don't remember what it was now.
Well, it was the
you
chip
didn't max
for
out
sure.
your Apple Card.
That one I did max out. This one will be paid off over many, many years. I did get a nice. What's really interesting about paying it off on the Apple Card is they still give you the cash, because if you use the Apple Card, they give you a certain percentage in cash that then goes into your Apple savings account. They give you the cash back on the whole amount right off the top.
And that's nice.
And it's almost enough to pay the first payment.
It is. Yeah. Just about. Then you have to keep making them. That's the part I don't.
You get 3 months free of Apple TV too.
I already have Apple TV
what's
free
the
through
interest?
T-Mobile.
Do you mind me asking what the interest rate is, or is that
0%?
If you do the payment plan, it's 0% for the year, but it's divided. The whole purchase amount, including taxes, is divided up in between to 12 equal payments that are due on the last day of every month, starting with the month after your purchase. If you just charge it regular, then the interest rate is variable according to your credit history and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
This is brought to you by Amos.
Yeah, you have to do the payment plan
Genius
through
payment
Apple,
ball.
not the pay it off on your card. Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out because like my Capital ones is sort of up there in terms of.
Yeah, I did it. It is $600 a month for 12 months at 0% APR.
Yeah.
Including a mandatory recycling fee of $5.
Spread out over 12 months.
Yeah. I did not trade in the old laptop because I'm not sure what I want to do with it. Eileen might take it, but then she might not because she already has an M1. She just has an M1 Air, not an M1 Pro.
Gotcha. I gave my M1. It wasn't the Pro. It was just the M1, the original MacBook Pro that originally came out with the M1. I gave that to my son to upgrade him from a 2017 MacBook Air, 2014 MacBook Air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge upgrade for him. He is ecstatic.
And also, by the way, this is a tax-deductible capital expenditure. So it is the kind of thing that in some ways doesn't cost me anything because it's tax I would have to pay, the company would have to pay otherwise.
Yeah.
One of the benefits
the point of the LLC. You
running an LLC.
Not you personally.
There are definitely purchasing decisions I would make differently if that were not the case. But yeah, this is I think it's an improvement. I think some of the issues I've been having may be related to that processor just being old. Because it was
kind of like us. We have issues related to our processors.
Yeah,
we're old.
I definitely. I've got a sore elbow that's taking forever to heal.
Oh, can we just talk about RSI for a
hip
second?
issue?
Like, who decided this is a thing? Because this is stupid.
The conference that David Spark's going to? Oh,
Or the
RSI,
repetitive
not
stressor.
RSA.
Like, why is it that both my pinkies are constantly tingling? My elbow hurts when I don't use it. But if I'm actually working or doing something active, the elbow feels fine. It's only when it's at rest. This is, look, getting old.
It's
and
because
because
it might not be directly your pinky, but something in your shoulder that's causing.
I
the
had to
pain
move
down there.
my mouse from the mouse pad to next to my body, so that I used to mouse over here. I now mouse right here because of the sore elbow, and that has changed. It is now healing.
I have a trackball at my work desk and an actual gaming mouse at my computer, and for both of them, my mouse is actually beyond my keyboard, so that I can straighten my elbow out. Because having my elbow crooked for that long will cause it.
Yeah, I had to
use
my
a mouse that I
elbow in order.
ambidextrously swap.
That's a
between my
tiny
left and my
mouse,
right.
though, Roger. That's not going to help your RSI at
That's
all.
from Target. That's from
about
Oh
the
no,
same-
it's
same- we
because
use
of
the
this.
same
I
size
don't
mouse.
have RSI.
What?
I have a
Yeah, I
trackpad.
just use an ambidextrous mouse myself.
Yeah. Because I
like
mouse with
It's
both hands.
under mouse, man. It's like
I
crack
have
it
a
open.
big trackpad.
Oh, see, he has a big trackpad. You
I
use your thumb.
need to. I
No,
need to buy.
I use my fingers like a laptop.
Yeah, I need to buy one and put it on the other side so I can actually use my left hand for some of the things I use my right hand.
We just
for.
need
and use it
agentic
for-
peripherals, so we tell the mouse move to the upper left.
James in the I think this is the Substack chat says daily tech news symptoms. Welcome, Welcome to
Hold
the
on,
new
let me
DTNS.
take out my AARP card here.
Actually,
Howard,
Tell
my
you the
elbow
deal.
does not let me know when it's going to rain.
So here's the thing, though. Like we're these old men talking about how things are hurting, and the young people listening are like, "Who cares about this? You should. You should."
No, hold on, Amos. I was young once, and Tom clearly remembers me griping about my injuries.
Yeah, Roger's always been
Rather
this way.
whether they were imagined or
It
real.
didn't seem to help.
So yeah, on one side I've got the trackpad.
The first time I
and on the
ever
other side I've got this.
interfaced with Tom outside of BOL was when he was with not Brian Cooley,
Brian Coolidge or Brian Tong.
Calvin Coolidge.
but no, it wasn't Brian Hall either. It wasn't a Brian. It was anyway.
Brian
It
Gall.
was Natalie Del Conte.
They were doing the tech
Often confused for
tech
Brian.
answers or whatever, and I emailed in saying, "Hey, is there a way to like stop the RSI? Because I had just had carpal tunnel surgery on my wrist." And they were like,
That would have been
yeah,
Cooley. We did the See Not Live thing. You sure it wasn't Cooley?
I don't think it was Cooley.
Maybe somebody was filling in for him that day.
Yeah,
Brian McManus. I don't know
no,
who that
it wasn't a Brian.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Was it Molly Wood?
No,
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Molly Belmont. That's who it was.
Molly Belmont Del Conte.
Yeah, I remember her well. So I promised the folks that we would talk about editing the show because we just started publishing a video version of DTNS again on the YouTubes. And immediately, those of you who are saying, can I get it this place that's not YouTube? Just hang in there. Let's get good at this. And then we'll start putting it in a bunch of other places. And this was a big deal in a few ways because the old way we do video is the way we do it right now on DTNS Live, where we just stream and then we're done. Boom, we have video because of the live stream. But because we're doing a more produced version of DTNS these days and it's not live, we'd been taking advantage of that to be doing a lot more editing of the audio so that if somebody screws up, they can stop and start over and fix their takes and all of that. And Victor was the only of the three regular editors who has experience doing video often. Roger is the other one doing video, but he wasn't doing the audio editing of DTNS these days. So Amos and Hammond, you guys had to up your game and dig into video, which I am very appreciative that you were willing to do. And it seems like you're starting to wrap your heads around it. Let's talk a little bit about how it's going.
Well, before we do that, I actually really want to thank Roger for saving my bacon on Monday.
Yes, thank you again,
Which
Roger.
is funny because I actually don't like bacon.
Yeah, but even though you don't, you still
You
saved it
saved
for
mine.
Hammond, and that's
you
what's
saved
important.
mine. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, well, that was because I talked about that on one of the lives earlier this week, but we had a StreamYard hiccup that left what video we had in shambles, and Roger basically performed emergency surgery on it and put it back together. But aside from that, how's it going, Hammond?
It's been a learning process. I mean, I had been tinkering with video off and on, knowing that at some point I'd have to know how to do it. And I'd been using Final Cut Pro, and it had been driving me bonkers. And just this January, not even knowing we're going to make this change, but just in January, I decided to move to DaVinci. When we made the change, I was nervous because it was like, okay, you have to perform now. You have to do the job. But at least it was with a program that made more sense to me. So I've been able to adapt current thinking, current skills, current ideas into DaVinci, and it's made the progress. It's not been flawless, but it's been at least acceptable. So I can say, oh, I know what I did wrong here, and I can fix it.
It's Hollywood's #1 post solution too.
Wow.
So you're gaining a marketable skill. And Amos, are you using DaVinci also?
I'm tinkering with it. I'm still too fast with the Adobe workflow that I've built over the last 12 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I can do it in DaVinci, but it's not as seamless for me as it is just to get it done in Adobe. I have the goal of getting rid of my Adobe subscription. My hard part with that is currently Audition.
Just because you're so used to using it.
Fairlight, to get rid of the Adobe Audition. So that's what I'm currently working on. But yeah, the transition to video for me was fairly seamless. It was just a matter of, because I'm already doing this basically the same thing for Cord Killers. Just taking a video and cutting off the top and tail, make sure the sound is good, and finding a way to blend in any mistakes, or do hard cuts for any mistakes, things like that, retakes that are done.
And then and that is one of the things that Victor advocated, was just saying, do your audio edit in video and then export the audio, and then you've got the video edit pretty much done. There might be a couple other things you have to do. Is that working out that way for you?
For me, no.
No. So you're doing two separate edits.
I don't like editing my audio in a video editing.
Alaska Internet does not want you to finish
that moose
right now.
Yeah. It's that moose. It's getting
I think the moose is doing some torrents. You might want to go check.
I think it's almond season. Amos.
Well, it didn't have antlers. It had already shed its antlers. So
rabbit ears.
Probably struggling for Wi-Fi signal right now.
Yeah. That's
but I don't like doing the audio edits in the video software, because I like to get a little more granular with my audio edits. So what I've been doing is taking and editing the video the way I want it to go, then exporting the audio that's left over.
Then exporting the audio that's left over is where you ended your sentence, and now you can continue it.
I love Alaska. I love it up here. I do my video edit, then export the audio, clean that up, bring it back in.
So you do the video edit and export the audio, but then you do an edit on the audio.
Yes.
Okay. So you're partially doing what Victor said, but then doing more on the audio side.
Yeah. So for example, I haven't found a video editor yet that I can go in and actually affect the waveform directly in the audio, as opposed to just trimming. Because I'll go in and P's that are hard popped, I'll go in and bring those down and manually adjust those, not just rely on a plugin or whatever. And I haven't found I haven't even found any audio software let me do that outside of Audition.
I mean, you kind of, but you have to use the pen tool in Premiere in order to go around it.
Is that do you use Premiere, Roger?
I do, yeah.
Yes, I use Premiere Pro, and I've used it since I was at CNET. Yeah. Just because it speeds up everything for me, because I used to use a lot of After Effects and Photoshop. So I would have all three open, and if I needed to change like a graphic or something, I would just change it in Photoshop, and it would reflect everywhere. It would reflect in After Effects, and I saved that, and then that project that I brought in to Premiere from After Effects would then show up altered. So it was just fix it in one place and just make sure I resave all the others, and it would reflect. It made it faster. And I actually do edit in video for audio as well, because it's easier for me to see the waveform. And I've gotten really good at just figuring out where people talk and what certain waveforms look like when they stutter, or when they say certain words, or they begin a certain word. It also helps me figure out how far ahead I need to cut, or where I should cut before, in order to make a complete cogent, clip that has a beginning, middle, and end, and not just have it trail off that suggests that you're going to say something else.
Yeah, and Amos, you have a more polished style to your edit. You want it to sound clean and produced.
So here's the problem.
Which takes more care.
The problem, Tom, is that I started editing my own podcast and got decent enough at the tools, and then I was working with Jenny, and she told me how to use it to make it actually sound good.
Right, because Jenny came from broadcast television and broadcast radio.
Yep.
And her father was a titan in radio.
Yep.
And that is gospel in those worlds, that you don't have a natural sound. You have a polished sound, or you don't work in that world.
So I spent several years working to get my audio to where you couldn't tell where the cuts were. You couldn't, even changing pitches sometimes to make sure that the sentence flowed correctly after there was a major edit, things like that. That was all in audio. So for me to go back to in doing video in my rudimentary video skills, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get the video together. Then I can take the audio out, polish it how I need to polish it to where you can't really tell. And if like I think it was Tuesday, I had to make a break to trim a word that, basically I turned the word conversation into the word conversion, but it didn't quite flow right. And I didn't have a chance to re-record the word. So I basically trimmed it up as much as I could and left the tiniest little gap in there to make it sound like it was an audio artifact on the listening side.
It's weird because coming from a television background, I kind of just pre-programmed to shoot for stuff that way. And so I always have extra clips at the end of extra words. And I have more than once, I have inserted a different word and swapped it out. So Tom says one particular thing that he actually did not say, but that was his intent.
Does this to me all the time, and then I get the emails, and I'm like, I never said that.
And this is the thing, like I write it in such a way that you can actually ask all the editors revision 3. I'm really good at making sure that when I edit it, you don't hear
there's no one left at revision 3, so I don't think you can ask any of them.
Well, ask all of them. They're all going to agree.
The people that used to work, you can ask Zach, you can ask Frank, you can ask oh crap, what's his name?
It's okay. Go ahead and say what we should ask.
But in any case, it's what I've learned to do is that one, I always get a pickup of anything I record, and I always record additional rather than just what I need, because you never know.
Well, that's like broadcast journalism, college, school, like
but
base practice. Yeah.
What you find out what you need is oftentimes you'll need the intonation that doesn't exist in the initial clip, and I can marry the two and generally have it sound seamless without any issues. And I've done it long enough in Premiere that it's actually quicker for me to do in Premiere than it is Audition. And that's just because of the ways the tools work. I have to switch over to the Audition tool set in my head in order to get it done. It's just faster in Premiere for me to click, click.
Hammond, how would you describe your style?
I don't know. I mean, it's functional. I mean, I can go super sterile. I've done the super sterile thing for people. I think the highlight of my career was when I was working on Current Geek Chronicles, and we sent a copy of the Theremin is for Chumps episode to Jenny, and she actually said it was lyrical and artistic. And I'm good. I can quit now.
I can hang it up now. Yeah, I actually have always preferred a more live style, which is why I've never had a problem just going live to tape, because I came up in live radio and live television, even when I was at Tech TV. Yeah, I was on the live shows. That's what Call for Help and the Screensavers were called. And I lean towards that because it sounds more authentic, even if you don't realize it. If you ever just think like, oh yeah, that's a very produced show, and that's a very rough live show. It's probably because of those styles.
And it's weird because you don't want to go too sterile. When I used to work at CNET, when I was at GameSpot, I had to edit one game developer who literally added after every word they did. And what I found out when I tried to take all of them out, it sounded really weird.
Sounded,
so
you have to be judicious, right?
Because that's how people normally talk.
So
right?
one of the things I learned was that when it depends on the show, like I do a show for some financial advisors, and there are times where they just want to be spitting information and sound super like they're in the lock and in the know of what they're talking about. And so those I polish pretty good. But when they're talking about something emotional, like, I don't know, crisis and lifeboat warnings and, things that are happening in the news, I leave a lot more things in because I need for them to sound more human and more thoughtful.
Yeah.
And you can make someone sound super thoughtful by just leaving a couple of ums and some spaces in, and then you can make them seem kind of pompous and kind of rude if you take everything out.
In TV, we used to call those strategic pauses, right? Because that's where the gravitas comes from.
Yes, those are strategic pauses. Would you say in TV we used to call it? It makes it sound like that's
well, I'm sure they call it
that they only.
No, it's not. I mean, geez, Tom, pull the curtain down, all of it, and just burn it. Jeez,
I told you I like a raw lifestyle.
Well, but the thing is, like when I did contract work, like that was a thing. It's like I want this to sound and look. And of course, when you shoot an interview, sometimes you don't have enough video because what you do is you do cutaways, or you use B-roll to kind of.
Is that what they call it in TV? Is cutaways and B-roll?
Yeah, like you use B-roll, or you use another shot, or you use a shot of the narrator Tom knows this. When you shoot interviews, you do all the reaction shots with the host after. Because that actually makes it. You could say, "Give me a thoughtful look," and I would get that.
Actually, sometimes they would come to CNET to like local TV would come to CNET, and they would shoot them before because they were worried they wouldn't have time after.
Oh yeah, no,
so
I totally get that.
Which is not contradicting you, but it's like they're not in no way connected to your actual interview.
Well,
right?
and I always do it after because I still have to clean up for when I was at when I was doing work for MP3.com, part of the CNET operation at the time. I shot a bunch of celebrity interviews, and I remember the celebrities were always very short on time. I can only spend 5 minutes talking to you people before I have to go into my limo and climb into the sky. So you shoot that. Like I shot 50 Cent, as I just told how to pronounce his name. I shot his interview, and then I did all the questions separate. Like the recorded the ones with the host, all the questions, I did that afterwards. Because he had to be out of there in 5 minutes. Although the rest of his crew could stay, 50 Cent had 5 minutes.
He was like, I'm busy. I'm out of here. Yeah. He's a busy man. He's got work to do. I think there is no right or wrong way to edit. And I think, Hammond, you probably nailed it, which is sometimes you need to lean more one way and sometimes you need to lean more another. And the art of editing is knowing when that will work. When the clean edit won't make someone sound pompous, it'll make them sound credible. And when the rough edit won't make them sound like they don't know what they're doing, it'll make them sound relatable and emotional. And those are all tools in your toolkit.
And sometimes you get a transcript that has the word 382 times on a 40-minute segment. And the person paying you wants you to take out every single one of them.
Well, okay, you've changed topics.
Yeah. So, but the thing with what we have is we have 3 editors on DTNS. Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part, all 3 of us edit kind of at least in the end product, it comes across relatively similar.
That's something Amos was really was important. I know when we started doing this way, that you wanted to keep lines of communication open so that everybody wasn't diverging in their styles too much.
Well,
Obviously, there's going to be some divergence. It's just human nature. But whatever we could do to sort of try to be on the same page, I think.
You don't want 3 different products. You don't want one product coming out on Monday, another one Tuesday, Wednesday, and another one Thursday, Friday, all in the same feed. It's just, you need to have the same
sound wildly different. Yeah,
right. You need to have the same feel, the same general construction of where the sounds are going to go, how long the delays are going to be, where the ads need to be, and the volume levels and all that kind of stuff. You don't need it to be exact every time, but you need it to be consistently generalized to where you get the same thing each time.
Yeah.
And the same thing with DMH. We both do DMH, and I probably only because I know
daily music headlines for the uninitiated.
And only reason I know who does what is because I'm the one doing half of them.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's the conversations Hammond and I have, off away from the StreamYard or whatever, are typically like, hey, how'd you do this, or how'd you do that, or I'm doing this. I've changed my style recently where when I played the music on daily music headlines, I want when the host says the name of the song, I want that to be the same time where the lyricist in the song says the name of the song or right next to it. And it kind of gives me that anchor. So I'm constantly putting that out each time. And I told him that, and he was like, I'm not doing that at all. And I'm like, but nobody even notices. No one says, hey, it sounds different each time.
The example he used was we were talking about Fate of Ophelia. And I told him, no, when that song came out, I picked up the first line of Taylor Swift and played the entire song in 10-second chunks the entire time throughout the time she had number 1.
Yep.
Oh, and you just like parceled it out over the course of multiple episodes. That's interesting. Yeah.
And then there's the decisions to be made, such as on the Thursday show, it was a longer show for daily music headlines. We didn't, there's some songs mentioned at the end, but I didn't include those because we'd already hit our 5 minutes where we kind of want to max out at. So I just let Eileen just run through the names of the songs. We just kind of cut it. And then today, on the other side of that, we were a little short. But not as short as we have sometimes been. So I only use 5-second snippets of each song. I'll never use more than 10 because I think more than 10 gives. I mean, even at that point, I'm like, you're stealing content.
Oh, and also at that point, like, okay, I know what you're talking about. It's
right.
Taylor Swift or Don
we could go down a whole rabbit hole about fair use and copyright, but forgetting what the actual reality of copyright law and lawsuits are. I think the spirit of it is, you can use enough of it if it's related to your commentary or you're just needing to remind people. When I say Fate of Ophelia, I mean this song.
Right.
If you're using more than that, which 10 seconds in most cases is more than you need, then you don't have the justification. Whether it's actually infringing or not, you don't have the justification anymore because you didn't need to use that much.
I put my hard limit at 10 just because even on slower songs, 10 seconds gives you enough time for a bar. Just one bar of the song or a nice transition or whatever else. Any more than that, it feels gratuitous. I don't like going less than 5 because by the time you even recognize it, you've already moved on. And it's like, okay, well, there's that little area there.
I mean, it depends on the song, right? There's at the end of the bell curve, there's those songs where you're like, you actually need 15 before you really know what freaking song you're hearing.
And some of
those
are
are
one
rare.
note.
And there's your occasional song where it's like, all I need is, Afro men saying one syllable. And I'm like, who let the dogs out?
That gong from Beat It. Everyone knows what that is.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But those are rare. Most everything else is there in the middle.
But that's all the decision that you make as an editor when you're editing these shows, whatever show it is. You make these small choices like that, and it's important that we communicate, especially if we're going to have very different. If we have a specific style that we're shooting for. That the editors talk about that and are willing to say, no, I like it this way, but you make a good case for that way, and we can just go with that, and we'll make that the standard, or this is a situation where there's enough room for Hammond to do songs one way and me to do songs another way, and we're both keeping the spirit of the program going, and it just flows. So,
well, speaking of that, Tom, the conversations we had during the productions of Current Geek Chronicles every week about how produced or what I added, what I took out, how I structured things. I mean, we would have, me, you, and Scott would have at least one conversation specifically per episode about what I was going to do and how I was going to handle it.
Yeah, because that was a very intentionally produced and edited series versus something like Daily Tech News Show or even Daily Music Headlines, honestly, where the live, quote unquote, even though they're recorded, speaking of the host is the center of the content, right? Whereas Current Geek Chronicles, the flow of the content was the center. The story was the center. I mean, it's always the story, but I think with Daily Music Headlines, how Eileen or Ibbot tell you the story that out of their own mouths is the important part. Whereas with Current Geek Chronicles, it was more of a like, what this person saying this, and then Scott setting up the next person saying this, and then Tom adding this, you know, like it's a lot more chunks rather than a live kind of feel. So you needed to have more of that.
And then you get situations like
long way of saying it was magazine style instead of
Is that what they call it in the magazine industry?
yes.
The last several seasons of No Little More were more highly produced. And
yes, right.
We actually brought in Justin Robert Young for his take on how to present that. And we brought in another editor, especially for sound. That was an interesting, because I don't know, this is one of those things, maybe Hammond, Roger, I know Roger has feelings on this, but when you feel like you own a process and then you bring other people in and they have a different process, it took 3 seasons of No Little More for me to finally put my foot down and be like, no, I'm mastering this. I'm going to give it to you because you're better at underlying the music and doing the atmospheric stuff. So I would get it. I would cut the transcription, you know, the actual part that Tom talked about. I would get the news clips, put that where I thought they needed to be, then send that project over to Will. And then he would actually go through and use that as a base to give the underlying music. He'd move some stuff around sometimes, and, you know, because we'd have like news snippets and things like that. And he'd move that around if he needed to, but the actual lyric, you know, what Tom said was stay the same. And then he'd give it back to me, and then I would balance it all out, because apparently I'm the only one of us that's actually halfway hard of hearing, because the way Will Saddleberg puts the underlying music was too loud for my taste. So then I'd listen to it back later. I couldn't hear Tom, even though I knew what it was saying. So then I took the mastering of that on me. And we actually, by the time we were done with the last season that we did, we had a nice, good flow. Like I would take it, Tom would record, I would take it there, send it to Will. Will would send it back to me. I'd master it and send it to Justin, and he would give us the thumbs up almost every time the first time through. And we had a nice little flow, but it took 3 seasons to get it that way.
Yeah. What took you so long?
I didn't want to be too assertive.
He didn't worry about that with me.
I felt like a jerk being assertive about not, you know, it's Tom's stuff.
No, it's hard because you have to be willing to work together on things and be honest with each other, right? That is every music group biography, every improv group television show, they all say the same thing. When they weren't talking to each other, things went less well than when they talked to each other, even if it was, you know, uncomfortable conversations that you have to have.
When Discovery bought Revision 3, suddenly I had to do a bunch of special projects, things for like Shark Week and stuff. And I worked with one of the editors I worked with, you know, we both respected each other's abilities, like where we were coming from. And so I would say, like for Shark Week, I shot this interview down on Monterey Bay with the shark biologist. And what I did was, I'm just going to A-roll it. I'm going to cut everything. And then you do your stuff, and then when it's done, I'm going to go through and then make sure there's nothing factually incorrect in your edits. So that means the information.
It's kind of similar to what Amos was talking about, different reasons, but that same. But you know, I start, you edit, you modify, I finish.
But I think in that whole case, one, to start with respect, but two, we understood the boundaries of what we each did. And therefore, there wasn't like, I'm stepping on your toes. It's like, okay, I trust you to do this. I just need to go through at the end. So anything that we show is consistent with what the biologist is actually saying. I don't want to say like, we're talking about like, you know, sand sharks and you put like a reef shark in. It's a, you know, totally different species. I mean, it's important.
It sounds silly if you're not into sharks, but honestly, this is Shark Week. The people who watch are into sharks. They will not be happy
Yeah.
if you do that.
And it's a reputational thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was working on like, hey, we want to make sure we put our best foot forward because corporate's going to be looking at this, and so again, we respected each other's abilities and we set up boundaries of what we each did, and then we were just like, okay, we're good, and we'll go through it. And then first few times, and it helped that he was working on screensavers at the time, but just having that rapport really helps.
They still do Shark Week too. Isn't that wild?
That thing
been going since 1988.
If
is a huge one.
on a slightly different tangent, if you are working on anything having to do with airplanes, especially military aircraft, especially United States Air Force aircraft, and you're doing a YouTube video, reach out, find me. I'm not that hard to find. I will tell you when you're wrong, because I'm tired of seeing one aircraft being talked about and they're showing a completely different model that was no longer in existence when they were talking about the new one. So
Do you show up in the comments?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever type? Okay.
Yeah, I'll time tag it and be like, that's not an F4.
This is
that's an F-18.
what you're talking about is the reef shark, sand shark phenomenon,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
for a different topic. Yeah.
For content. Yeah.
But,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
people, and that, I mean, it sounds a little silly if you're not super invested in that topic, but it does establish your reputation with that audience, right?
I think you can get your back up too much about it. I think both examples that you guys used, Amos and Roger, are good examples of an avoidable mistake, right? And especially in this day and age where you can look up, is this the same plane that I'm describing on screen? And if it says no, don't use that, right? Is this the same shark that they're describing? If no, don't use that. But I do think it's an occupational hazard for everyone to watch something about the thing they're an expert in. And all of us are experts at something. There's something we've done so much in our lives that we're like, yeah, I really know this. And if you were to say only other experts can make content about the thing I'm expert in, you wouldn't get much content, and you wouldn't get very good content. I think you do have to, like, I think about when I was training to be a first responder, and suddenly I was watching medical shows that had never bothered me before, and I was like, well, that's not really the way you do it. But I had to learn, like, first of all, I'm not a doctor, and I know this much about medical, and I'm already seeing something wrong. Imagine what the doctors feel when they watch it.
Right.
But second of all, like, if they're not getting it horribly wrong, maybe they're just like, to tell a good story, we can't go through the 5-step procedure you learned in emergency medical training.
Discovery Channel has numbers of shows that talk about certain topics, but they have to kind of brush through the details because you only have 45 minutes.
I think it's even bigger. I'm even more forgiving with fictional stuff because it's like you're not doing an instructional manual. You're telling me a story.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, and that's context, right? Context is king. If I'm watching a thing about fighter planes, but it's in the context of, like, the fourth Independence Day Alien versus Earth movie.
Yeah, right.
Whatever, creative license. But if it's like
it's still going to make Amos mad, but it's not as egregious.
But if it's the life and times of a famous, Chuck Yeager, like, you want to make sure you're representing Chuck in the best, in the most accurate light possible.
I don't watch military movies for the most part, based on the fact that I was served in the military. So I'm gonna see all the things they do wrong, and it's gonna irritate me.
Yeah.
And also my experiences, a lot of times they don't show them correctly. Like I know what their intent is, but they're not doing the audience justice because they're downplaying the severity of things. So I just avoid military movies in general, unless there's like a specific reason I should watch it.
Sure. And that's fair. I think what I'm trying to say is, like, I think I have learned to be a little more forgiving. Like, anytime they show podcasting, they get it wrong. There is something they have gotten wrong. I'm like, either it's wrong in the sense of, like, almost nobody does that. I'm sure somebody does it that way, but almost nobody does it that way. Or it's just like, that's not a piece of equipment on the table that you could do that with, that but I mean, most of the time, while I do have that criticism run through my head, I forgive it because I'm like, it's not really that important. I think, Amos, it's tougher with your stuff because sometimes I think the topics you're talking about are important. And it is a little bit of a different thing, but there are times what I think we can all just be like, look, I'm an expert in whatever, podcasting. I know when I see podcasting, it is 90% likely to have an inaccuracy at best. Right. If I feel like that inaccuracy is irrelevant to the point of whatever's being shown, like it's murders in the building or something, where podcasting is just kind of a background job for them, it's not the point. I'm going to forgive it because I'm having too much fun. If it's, however, like a documentary on how to podcast, then I'm going to be like, no, that's not okay. You're telling people incorrect information.
Remember, we had one experiment week, had a paleontologist, Riley Black, and she was talking, and I was talking about because she goes through and studies dinosaur bones or fossils. And I said, like, do you go through and your friends, like your colleagues, go sit through like a Jurassic Park movie, just like it's wrong, too big, too small, had feathers, wrong color. Like it's like, well, kind of, but you go in to enjoy the movie. Right. Two, I sort of like she freely admit, like sometimes I consult on these, and I understand they do a lot of these things for artistic reasons, right? Like certain dinosaurs didn't sound that way, but it doesn't sound as dramatic on the big screen when it sounds like instead of like a big tremendous roar. Like you do things because you're trying to play up certain aspects.
It's more entertaining, and if you're making entertainment, well, you probably want to be entertained.
Like when I went on the go ahead, sorry,
I was going to say it's like the whole argument about noise in space.
Right. Which I think some people, this is a reason why maybe don't always forgive it. Because when The Expanse came along, or Battlestar Galactica before it, honestly, they showed how you could be true to sound in space not carrying and be dramatic, by doing the cut back and forth of like when I'm inside, I hear the rumble. When I'm outside, I don't. Yeah.
Firefly, same way.
Yeah, Firefly too.
And you hear the engine motor, you hear the engine sound, the rumble of it inside the ship, but then when they show the external shots, it's silent. All you hear is the music,
which is weird because for me, shows like that, I kind of chuckle at because they spend so much time to make that aspect sort of realistic, but then they go use like weird like Chinese slang that no one would use. In this century. Yes. Also, you have like a stagecoach horse ship that flies like a plane. There's a lot of other things.
And to be fair, they didn't have to spend that much time to not play the rumble.
I know, but to me, it's just sort of humorous.
For a second, I thought Roger
that has to be sacred. That's like the scientifically
I think that actually proves my point. Is like when you're trying to entertain, you can choose accuracy if it helps to entertain. And they figured out like, when we show that it's silent in space, that's more dramatic. That's why we're doing it. It's not because it's accurate. And when we decided to use stagecoaches, it's because it's more dramatic, not because that would be more likely.
Oh no, yeah, and it's fun. Like I enjoy Star Wars, and I know nothing that they show will ever work that way, but it's fun. It's still fun.
I mean.
Right?
People
I thought Tom was going to say hold up.
No. People argue for realism, and I don't want to totally discount, like, yes, sometimes realism helps to tell a story better, but like if you really were to be realistic, look at your life. Look at the grocery store. Look at the doctor's office. Like that's realism. That's it's not always the most dramatic thing in the world happening. So if you were to be too realistic, it would not be very entertaining.
I had an old classmate who was part of the FBI for a while, and she was telling me it's like I watch a lot of those shows, like cop, what do they call them? Not serials, but
procedurals.
Procedurals. It says, it sort of kind of works that way, but not really. But like they do it because you can't have the dun dun from Law and Order without that dramatic imposition of the judge has finally issued a,
courtroom dramas. I think in particular are the most egregious because
it's like she's telling me it's like
you've been on the most juries of anyone I've ever heard of, Roger.
It's the most, and I've been a jury foreman. I've sat on a criminal trial, and it's just like, I guess most of it is just people whining, trying to get off jury duty. So, it's interesting because we often, and this is the one thing she mentioned to me that was problematic, is that oftentimes people imagine what they see on TV as sort of how it actually works.
Yeah.
So when they do come into a jury, they have a preconceived notion of,
Right.
oh, DNA evidence is always 100% flawless, or this, you know what I mean? Like, you can do this, you can do that. It's like, no, you can only do certain things at certain
Why haven't you
times.
just called in your uncanny expert who can crack every case?
Yes. You know,
There's
and-
always
and-
one on the staff.
And,
I mean,
in CSI, DNA results only take a shift.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no backup of
No.
them.
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
and
You
she's
just
just
have
like,
to
you
do
know,
it
we're
now.
loaded with cases. It's not like we have like
Yeah.
all week to spend on one thing. Although, you know, sometimes they have to, but
Yep.
it's unrealistic expectations. I think was her prime thing about the way, you know, sometimes fiction runs away with people's imaginations.
Whenever we get into this topic, I always remember I was watching an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with somebody, and then she goes, "That's not how real vampires do it." And I stopped and looked at her, and I'm like, "Do you realize what you just said?" And anytime we have conversations about realism and fiction and storytelling and that kind of stuff, I always go to that moment because it is the ultimate moment of kind of that the necessity of shortcutting storytelling or doing something in your story to make it work.
I think, to be fair to the people who say things like that, what they mean is the credibility and consistency is being broken, right?
Also-
like there's rules in this universe, and they're breaking those rules, and that's lessening the experience for me.
Also, they said there in the chat, someone says enhance. We did a Zoom and Enhance episode on Current Geek Chronicles.
And then ChatGPT came along, and now you can actually enhance.
Now, is that an enhanced hallucination or just an?
Accuracy is a whole.
You know, all I
other
really
thing.
want
But
enhanced
you
is my
could-
bank account.
Like, yes, could you use it to prove someone like committed the murder? No, because it's not. But you can actually enhance and do things that
But
when we
I
made
think
that
what-
episode were not technically possible.
But I understand kind of where Hammond's coming from. Is like you can nitpick about things that are based on reality, but when you're picking on fictional aspects and saying real vampires, well, you know, the whole vampiric thing has been changed and altered since its original roots, and it depends on which culture you're deriving the information from.
Right.
Well, that's why I
Whether
said
it's from the
consistency and credibility is what they really mean, which is I have been led to believe, either by this show's universe or just the genre in general, that when I see vampires in fiction, they're supposed to work this way. And this is violating that rule in a way that isn't fun and is degrading my experience. And I think that's fair. It's just that people haven't really thought through that much about what
I mean,
they're saying.
I agree with it, but at the same time, you have a movie like 28 Days Later, which really shifted the whole zombie from, you know, slow moving to like running after you, like, you know, like a pathogen, like, and to amp up the whole horror factor. And I think one of the things that Hammond was trying to hit upon is that those kinds of stories have changed like over the years.
Sure.
You know, little bits of, you know,
I don't disagree with that.
But
Yeah, I'm just saying.
yeah.
I'm just trying to say, like, when people complain about like that, what they're saying is this isn't fun for me. They're not actually. I think they're misexpressing themselves when they say that's not how real zombies work. I think what they're trying to say is I have an expectation, and I don't like the way they're meeting that.
I mean,
Well,
I totally agree
and
with that.
that's perfectly subjective.
yeah.
And
Wait,
Are
can I
you
say
are you a
something?
Nosferatu vampire? Or are you a Bram Stoker vampire? Are you a Twilight vampire? Are you an Anne
what
Rice
we do
vampire?
in the shadows, vampire.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, I
you know
mean,
what
if
Like,
you're an emotional vampire, Tom, that's like
which
an
rules
entire-
are we? Which rules are we going by here? Like, you know,
Well, you know,
the number of times I've explained.
But
the
I guess
sparkly
that's where I'm
skin on
going is it
Twilight
doesn't
vampires.
matter. It doesn't matter. And when you argue with somebody like you're being silly, I think you're missing what their actual objection is, which is I don't like the way they're doing
Yes,
it. And
yeah.
that's a
And,
more
you know,
subjective.
and it's
Or
funny
I'm just not used to how it's being done. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
and
a new day
I'm
for
not,
me.
you know, I'm that kind of, Tom knows, I'm that person, right? I like to poke holes in everything, right? Like, it's like, why
No, you
do
don't, don't
they
you?
constantly do the vampire versus werewolf thing? Like, back in the old days, they were actually kind of one and the same. And somehow during the early 90s, decided to make these movies where they were a little adversarial because they needed drama, right? And it was a very interesting moment because then you understand sort of how storytelling, as Hammond was saying, works, where you have a narrative that slowly gets altered by the people who reach into it and then change it to adjust for their new sensibilities, right? Like now vampires and werewolves are like gangs, right? They're in their own little
Jets and
cliques
sharks.
that they have to face off. You know, just like in Greece. right? So where they had to face off. And then you have things like, what's the one where they're all teenagers and they just look at each other? Not Twilight, the one on CW.
I have no idea.
Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries,
Wait,
but
wait.
yeah.
I'll stop for a second. They just look at each other for 45 minutes? What? I don't
You know,
understand the
lovingly.
storytelling.
But that's how you show intensity, right? You just stare.
Okay. They smolder at each other for 45 minutes.
That's a Vampire Diaries spinoff too. Is that the one you're thinking
Yeah,
of?
that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
This is why I don't watch these shows.
I don't watch them either, but like when I used to watch CW.
I think you protest too much, Robbie.
So, by the way, I'm going to push my glasses up my nose for a minute. In 28 Days Later, they're not zombies. They're affected by a virus.
But wasn't that the original zombie thing?
Tell me the difference between that distinction.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being that guy.
I mean, wasn't the original one just from Bad Chili Cheese Dogs?
Well, we only have a few minutes left, so I really need to know whether you think it was the correct decision for BTS to release Swim as their title track instead of Body to Body off the new album Arirang, which came out last night.
I haven't listened to it yet. I'll have to listen to it on my flight to London.
Well, that's all the time we have, everybody.
I honestly think we need to take like major releases like this and do a listening party for our audience on DMH. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, how do we do that? Because
through editing.
I mean, I guess we just say we hope that they just claim monetization and then we don't make any money off that video, which is fine.
Oh, I was looking more like something, just something in Discord for the people that listen to the show.
Discord,
not actually releasing it, but actually just doing the listen party.
So you're saying just violate the law, but don't do it on a big enough scale that anyone will bother to.
Yes, that would
what
be
you're missing
Tom.
is objection, Thomas.
You don't listen. You don't live in sin. You just visit in sin.
Look, last time you went on the highway, did you stay at 55 or did you creep up to 56?
Absolutely.
I'm
as
just
far
saying
as you
we
know,
creep up to 56.
When it's at 65, that's when I went up to 60.
Tom hits the speed limit where his age is at.
80?
80? Whoa, Tom. Calm down.
Whoa.
We were behind these two senior respected elders at Chipotle for lunch today. And I said to myself, Tom, someday you'll be that slow, so don't be too impatient.
Wait, like to the not drive through, but like waiting in line or just sitting?
No, we were just waiting in line to order, and it was the taking a little time.
Did you come around to see them in the face and then realize it's me?
Oh no, it's time travel.
I was driving from Shreveport, Louisiana to Austin, Texas for South by in 2010, I think it was. It was the time that I met you, Tom. And I ended up, I was like, going to the freeway is going to take too long. Let me go these back roads, see if I can cut a little time off, maybe half an hour or so. I ended up in this train of cars, maybe 8 cars long. It was led by this black SUV, and we were hauling through these little tiny towns at like 100 miles an hour, no stop signs, no nothing, not caring and no cares in the world, just hauling. And as we start getting close to Austin, cars start peeling off, but the lead car stays. And eventually I end up beside the lead cars. I'm turning left and they're turning right. And I look over and it was 2, not kidding you, Betty White looking ladies.
Oh,
they
really?
Were tiny. They were old. You barely see over the dashboard, and they were hauling through the back road. And we just followed them the whole way. It was great.
Wow. They talk about a good pace car. That's awesome.
I mean, if you get one of those, it's great because everyone thinks, well, the state police or the CHP or highway patrol is going to
they can only get one of
first.
us. Yeah, they're only
Yeah,
get one of us.
and the myth. I don't know. I say that's a myth because I don't know if there's any evidence that it's true. But the myth was always like you don't want to be the lead car or the last car in a group of speeding cars because they're more likely to go for one or the other. If you're in the middle, you might get by.
I only base this on like an old news report about what the CHP looks for. They, in California at least, they look for people who constantly pass other cars and weave through traffic. Like they go,
I think that is
taught
true sometimes in some places where they're like, go. That's the low hanging fruit, right?
Sometimes they trade really, really slowly, very far behind a white Bronco as it cruises down the freeway at 20 miles an hour.
Sometimes in Lebanon, Illinois, they just wait by the unexpected, you went down from 55 to 35 right here at this intersection sign and then ticket everybody.
Yes.
So going back to editing real quick, I do want to say that I feel incredibly lucky because I am clearly the least experienced on this panel. and to be able to learn and to kind of be able to hang out and do these things, I'm it's accelerating my process because I am getting to sit next to Roger and Amos.
I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that, Hammond. And I think when you say that, it sounds like you're not experienced, but you have quite a bit of experience. But I know what you're saying is
We
you're
all
still
just
able
have
to learn.
different experience.
Yeah.
And Roger just has more of it.
More different experiences.
More different experience.
That's not to say Roger is old.
No, it's to say that I started late.
I don't care if I'm old. I just want the benefits that come with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
RSI,
thanks
coming your
everybody for getting together. And folks, if you have questions about anything we talked about, I know we kind of diverted into talking about zombies and stuff. I hope you enjoyed that diversion as much as I did.
So.
It is the Friday Hangout. But feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you Monday for the office hours at DTNS. Talk to you then. Bye. Wave with both hands.